What is up, everybody? It is Ted here again with Bodies and Wicks. I know I just got kicked off not too long ago. Again, that's because YouTube does not like me having anything over an hour long. So they just want to kick me off. I don't know what it is, but if you watched the first video, welcome back. As you can tell, I was getting ready to get into some technical analysis for Ethereum and Bitcoin um, to see where we think we are going to be headed now. Keep in mind, I am no Nostradamus, but I have a pretty good understanding of price and price action. I take a different approach to price and price action than what most people do. I am not your typical retail investor. I try to put myself in the shoes of the big guy, if you know what I mean. People that have the monies. If you put yourselves in their shoes rather than versus the think like the masses, um, the people that have the money know how the masses think, so they're going to trade against the masses. So if you think like those people who, especially when it looks like something's going to happen, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely going to happen, and it goes against you. Well, it's probably because the big guys knew that the little guys were thinking, and they went against you. So that being said, that's why I want to kind of bring this to the forefront and show you guys possibly what could be happening, what we could be looking at as far as Bitcoin and Ethereum are concerned. Um, Now, what I was looking at was Ethereum just before we took this small little break here. And so what I would like to do is go back to that Ethereum chart and let's see what we can find out. So here we go. We are I'm on a actually a 1 hour chart here. Going back to like January, as you can see, we had the looks like we're having trouble getting over that $15,000 mark. And then as you can see, once we got up here, the one last final time that it came to it, it was around 1463. Boom, blows past it, never comes back again. And this was all by design, right? This is all by design. This wasn't just some people coming up here and sell it, and then people coming up here and then sell it, and then people coming up here and then sell it, and it's not really how it works. There was a lot of people putting a lot of money into Ethereum, and even though gas fees are eating it up, and people like to use the excuse that Cardano is taking some of the market share, or Polkadot is taking some of the market share. Ethereum owns, or I wouldn't say owns, but has a lot of the coins on the market. So anytime you purchase an ERC20 token, for instance, you're paying a gas fee. That gas fee is going to Ethereum. That Ethereum is supposed to go up. So I'm the type of person that I am under the influence of that these markets are somewhat manipulated. Not somewhat manipulated, but very manipulated. Now, we don't know how much of this is in leverage, right? We don't have an exact number. We don't have an exact number of, we probably could figure out eventually, but how many people own the particular asset of Ethereum. Instead, we just kind of rely on a chart to tell us that we hope that we are correct, right? Speaking of which, let's go over here to what's happening right now. As you can see, you did have this kind of uptrend that was happening. And then right now on the opposite side of the uptrend, we are hitting it right now, right? And it looks like it's bouncing off of this uptrend. Don't be fooled. A lot of people are probably selling right now because they're thinking, oh, it's on the opposite side of it. People are probably going to be selling. And so therefore we are in the right. More than likely what's going to happen is it's probably going to blow right through that, probably within the next hour or so. Let me draw another line here, and let me see if I can't illustrate my point. Style and line right. So we have some of these lines here, GAN vans, I guess you might be able to call them, to where it looks like there is trend lines going these ways, and prices coming right up to the opposite side of the trend line, which you are taught on the opposite side of the trend line to sell. And that may happen for a little bit, give people hope that are actually selling. But the guys who are actually have money are doing that on purpose and letting you have that hope. And then because they're gonna want you to chase it, right? They're gonna want you to chase this price. They're gonna want you to chase this price lower and lower and lower, until they say, and then they're gonna turn around and stab you in the back, and then they're gonna take off with it. Mark my words, it'll probably happen very, very shortly. And it looks like it could possibly be already happening. So that being said, before, when I went on break, what I was looking for, right, as I was looking for possible areas for Ethereum to go if we were to go lower, and there are a couple areas, which is what is not really disturbing me, but making me be a little bit more cautious about jumping into Ethereum. It's getting close to about my average, which is not good. Because I mean, I was trading Ethereum early on. I wasn't investing. I've changed my game this year completely. I'm investing all until I can really learn how to trade. And then I'm going to start trading. But until then, I'm just going to build a portfolio, and then turn around, take that portfolio and turn it into a trading portfolio, and then just wipe everybody clean. That, yeah, whenever you get those kind of skills, you kind of figure you got to use them, right? So I'm looking over here, and I'm seeing, this jump up here, then the pull down, boom, it hits a bottom. Same thing, kind of goes sideways or a little, it comes down here, boom, hits a bottom, then takes off. So it looks like there would be a floor here, right, or a place of place of support, and then just before that, same thing. You kind of have, boom, hits a bottom, moves up, comes back down, boom, hits a bottom, then does the same, So now you have two areas of support, and then don't really think there's really one here. And that is just before it drops off and then goes back to what it was prior to the beginning of the year, which wasn't much. So what does kind of scare me is there is a huge, I guess you could say, blast off of, just complete selling. There's really, or sorry, buying. There's no selling in here whatsoever. It does come back down here and touch this gap just a little bit before it takes off again. That is some good sign of hope. It's not like it's never come back to it. It doesn't have to come back and completely fill this gap. As long as the gap has been touched, then that's usually what I look for. So, and it got close to this as well. So you could be saying, hey, these are kind of equal lows. And if you're doing that, what you're going to be looking at is getting more into this little area here, which again is quite possibly possible. Getting back down to the 800s, hopefully no less than 800, hopefully actually no less than around 830. But is it possible? Yeah, sure, why not? Anything is possible. Again, I'm not Nostradamus. I can't tell you the future. The only thing I can tell you is what is more than likely possible. But when I do look at all that, I don't think, I mean, the thing is what's happening right now is that with Bitcoin and Ethereum, is that there's a lot of institutionalizing taking over, right? A lot of institutions using Ethereum for smart contracts, whether it be trying to make a model of, get some kind of prediction model for the future, or um, something along those lines. Especially when it comes to financial sectors and things like that. Ethereum has a good way of doing that. That's part of the AI complex to it. I think there may be some AI coins out there. I don't even know. But as you can see here, we're still just below this line. Fine. But I want to say that I do think this is probably the low that we are going to get, just because there has been so much movement up and down through here in between, especially the 800 through the 1400 range, almost 1500 range, that I mean, it's pretty much whitewashed everything out. There's been no price left uncovered. And that's what I mean by balancing. What I mean by balancing is that it likes to make sure that every price somewhere along the lines through here has been touched at least once, right? And again, the only place that scares me is this very, very, very little area, but we are kind of very, very far ahead of that. It's almost impossible to come back and to touch that. Now, say it's impossible, I'm not going to say that, because it definitely could be possible, but more than likely possible. I'm going to give it a 0 out of, well, I'd say a 1 out of 10 maybe, for it to be possible. So that being said, if it was going to get lower, right, if it was going to get lower, what will we see? We would see probably get down below here, right? Get down below this 1267 area, right? And I'm using Coinbase right now. And what you would probably see is it get below the 1267, pull back up really quickly, and then drop back down. And you would probably see it hit somewhere around 12, probably, I would say lower than 1258, maybe somewhere around 1248. Only because I always like to look at the last, and I'm on the hour too. I could probably even get into the nitty-gritty of this and get into, I'll go ahead and go to the 15-minute. I remembered what date that was. I could have just typed it out instead. That was, but that's okay. There we go. Because here is the thing here. Whenever you have something like this red candle here, and you see it push down really hard, right? And what it does is it makes it equal. I just now noticed this. I probably shouldn't do that. But you do have, it looks like almost equal lows here. See what the low is here. 1220. Low here. So 20.08. So this is just a little bit higher. That is where liquidity lies. That is another area to where it comes down to it, people are going to say this is where it people would jump in probably a little bit before here, but they would also have their stop losses set below here. But then again, this is another one of those areas to where you have another area that's lower than this. So I don't think people would want to jump in here and have their stop loss set way below here. But they could think they're going to try to outsmart the system and jump in right around here, have their stop loss set below here, and then it could do something so easily, such as, you know, come down through here, pull back up, come back down here, pull back up, and then pull back down, and then finally start to make a run, just to try to take all those people in those long trades out, right? And that way, again, prices lower as well, for the institutions to jump in and capture as much capital as possible. That way they are not left, you know, out in the dark. They don't want you plebs holding a lot of money in Ethereum and Bitcoin. You know, they want it all for themselves, is basically what's happening. So that is why they're doing what they're doing. And if you want to give me 1 second, I have forgotten my drink. And there we go. Sorry, I don't want to be giving a podcast here with a dry mouth. So if we're talking about where it could be going, and I don't think it actually will be getting there, would be those areas, right? I just think there's too much price action that's actually been happening in those areas, that I just don't see it happening. I mean, it could. Let me take a closer look at some of these in here. Some of the, yeah, you could possibly. I mean, I would hate to say it, but if it was going to get any lower, it would probably be somewhere in this area here. Which would be around 1261, 1266, I think is what it showed. I'm going to extend this out as far into the future as I possibly can. Just to see if it does hit it. If it does hit it, then we got to look at a different area. But to me right now, that would be ground zero for it to get any lower than where it is at right now. I don't think we're going to get any lower. I mean, any lower than what the low is right now, I should say. Can it get lower where it is right now? Yeah, of course. Like I said, it's using this as a tool to make people think that, well, actually, it's pulling back off of that. And it probably will come down, make people think that they're going to end up making money, and then turn around and go back up. And it will most likely happen in an area like this. Oops, didn't mean to do that. That. Or will it? Yeah. Somewhere around an area like that. Could possibly touch it. Just even touch the green and then turn around and take off. That's what I would be looking for. Everything else in here seems to be doing okay. It looks like this little order block here. Didn't get traded to, but I got close enough. Especially when it comes to liquidity. That's what this down here did. Hey, everybody was thinking it was going to come through here. Boom, fell through. Liquidity, it started going back up. Everybody thought it was going to possibly start rising again. Again, boom, fell through. Well, actually, what it did is it made equal lows, making people think, okay, we're done here. And then, boom, fell through. And then took all those people out who were probably making trades right in here, thinking that it was going to go long, and then turned around and went against them. So, that being said, again, not Nostradamus, but just looking at what could possibly happen with Ethereum right now, right? Again, what I'm more likely looking at is these equal highs up here, right? This is where it would come up to. People think it might sell short, just because of you got two equal highs. Of course, you know, would be a quote unquote resistance area, and then it would fall from there. I think it could possibly get up there, and then instead of hitting there, pull back, coming up, and then triggering those buy stops that people have set above that, and then pulling back, taking those buy stops out, and then continuing to move on. That's usually what happens whenever you see equal highs, equal lows. You'll see it move through kind of like a zigzag, go to play both ends, make people think that it is going to sell. That way they chase after it, and then it turns around and goes against them, takes out their sell, buy their stops, and then the buy stops, triggers them, then turns around and goes back against them. That way it takes out their stop orders, and then it continues on after that. So that's what I'm more than likely inclined to look for, is something like this to happen in this area whenever it does get there. And get to 1 hour here. I want to see kind of mess that we've made through here. So here, all right, got a little bit of a gap through here. Right, then I would be looking for and the reason I'm looking at this is because of, again, you have a very big movement of price downward. Even though we kind of have the same area here where there's a movement of price downward, it also came back up and has filled in that price. So that's why I'm looking at this one here, because this one has yet to be filled. So what would it be doing after, what would it do once it got to that area? Turn around. Literally, probably start moving the opposite direction until we hit something similar. Um, so just warning you, don't get high hopes too much about, this is gonna take a while for it to build back up. But I do think it will build back up. I mean, again, Ethereum is one of the, I mean, it's its own thing. It's not even an altcoin anymore. You got Bitcoin, which is of course the internet's gold, and then Ethereum, I think, was once considered an altcoin, but now it's its own thing. It took Bitcoin and it turned it into something completely different, with smart contracts and all that. And now everything else is built off of Ethereum. So I don't consider Ethereum an altcoin at all, considering it its own beast or whatever it is. And we'll have to see what's going to play out from here. But I really don't think we're going to get below that 1294. I think 1300 was pretty low for it. I think it was very, very low for it. I mean, could it hit 800 again? Yeah, sure, but very, very likely? I don't think so. I really, really, really don't think so. We want to look at some other metrics, some other things. Go into the 4-hour. I mean, this is where you find the overall shape of what is happening with Ethereum right now, right? So and the thing, especially recently, what happened with I think it was last weekend. Was it last weekend? Was the 22nd? Yeah, whenever it had this fall and everybody kind of freaked out for a second and didn't know what to do. And maybe it was this one. I don't even know. I think it was this one. 20th, yeah, that was last Saturday. And this one, everybody freaked out, didn't know what to do. What it did, I noticed this in Bitcoin as well, is that it hit this candle right here, right? It struck the body of this candle almost exactly. So if we were to draw a line from here to here, right? Exact same measurements, right? Which is 1712. Where did that low go to? 1811 17. This low went to 1811.25. Literally 8 cents away. 8 cents away. And I mean, it's so close you can't even tell in here. Zero is that low? 1811.25. The somehow 11. Okay. Well, it got close enough to that. And the reason I picked this one out is because if you look at the wick that it made, right? Wick that it made was higher than the body of the next candle, right? And lo and behold, if we go to Bitcoin, right? And we go to a 4-hour, I think it was a 1-hour chart on Bitcoin, to be honest. We go to that same day, February 20th. Did the same thing. It goes right to a candle, right to where a wick went above the body of the following candle. Right, so this doesn't happen often, right? It doesn't happen often. I mean, especially wicks that go above candles, or at least above candles that are in the trending pattern, I should say. They usually don't happen that often. You can see here is a wick with a candle. Here, a wick. Again, wick and wick. Yeah, but this one was red, so of course it goes down. It goes up, down, but this will go in. So you can kind of see that there's really not many of these taking place. Green wick, but then again went down, came back up. Again, you just don't see many of these candles that wick above another candle, except for this one here. Or you got an interesting one here where it wicks above, but then again this one also wicks below. So it's almost as if these two candles are the same and or are void, because if you take these out, then you pretty much have two red candles going up. So it's just some observations that I have made. Looking at some of these things, it almost makes them look like as if they are a gap, rather than anything else. So if that is considered a gap, then of course this is going to go down to it, almost filled the gap, right, and then moved on upwards. As to where with Ethereum, it didn't actually fill that gap, right? Instead, what it did was it came down and touched the top of the gap, right? At least, or that almost touched the top of the gap. If we were to count the wick, of course, then yeah, of course it would have filled, or at least, you know, went to the gap. So these are just kind of things I look for, and I try to see if there's some kind of cohesiveness, some kind of I wouldn't say planning, so it's not really the word, but some kind of coincidence, something that's similar than just, you know, well, it fell. Well, there's got to be a reason why it fell. You know, there's reasons behind everything. It's not just because it fell. It fell to a specific place for a reason. It didn't just turn around at that place for a reason. You can't just say, oh, well, there was a bunch of buyers right there. Why would there be a bunch of buyers right here? Right? It literally makes no sense for there to be a bunch of buyers sitting right here at 18,012 or something. I had somebody just tell me, oh, there was a bunch of buyers at 1800. It didn't hit 1800. It didn't even get near 1800. Yeah, you can set a ton of buy limits at 1800, but it didn't get there. So where were those buyers at? That doesn't make any sense. People just try to make up their own narrative sometimes. So you've got to try to find narrative. You got to really have to try to figure out what the narrative is. You know, especially, you know, that's why I don't like retail trading. They just say, well, price does this because of this. There's no narrative. There's no reasoning as to why price does it what it does. There has to be a reason, which is why I like smart money, which is why I like institutional. There's specific things within the algorithms that make the price do what it does. Bigger people, bigger traders know these things, and so they will trade based off of those ideas. So that's why I say try to stay away from retail. Try to do as much research as possible when it comes to smart money theory, because otherwise you're just going to get left in the dark and you are not going to know what is going on, and I just don't know what else to tell you. So excuse me for smoking. It is my own podcast. I can smoke if I want. I'm sure it's going to give me less views, but whatever. So that being said, let's take a look at Ethereum now. Let's see if it's jumped off this this course of this trend line, or if it's going to keep going up. You know, again, it's falling backwards, probably because it's making people think, okay, it's gonna sell. You know, it right. Like I'm jumping in the 5 minutes. I went straight from the 4 hour to the 5 minute, right? So, uh, again, up, and here you go. Let's take a look at this. All right, here you got some flat, almost flat highs right here. Why couldn't it get above those, right? What is the reasoning why it couldn't get above those, right? There is a huge gap somewhere in here, and all it does is it comes up in here and it fights it and fights it and fights it and then falls, right? And let me see if I can't find some kind of indicator or something like that. You know, never mind. I probably couldn't go back that far anyway. Here, let's go with the MFI. Right here you go. All right. Money drops, money flow index up, up. Money flow index. I mean, it touches the top, almost the top of the basically the indicator. Why is it not pushing upwards? And it's pushing up at the top at an area where it's falling. So if the money is flowing into Ethereum at this spot because it hit a bottom, right? Some people watch this, some people use this as an indicator so that way they can get in and it goes up, but instead what does it do? Go sideways. And then it falls. And here we go again. More money flow index. Boom. Up. Okay. Went sideways. Okay. It just, you know, sometimes the trails just don't make sense. You know, or not compare, sorry. I mean to hit compare. Indicator. Let's go DMI. Didn't mean to move two, but whatever. Directional movement index. If you don't know what a DMI is, you can go to the settings. With links to 14, so it's going back 14 bars. Plus D minus. And of course you have your ADX line. So precision, let's just throw an 8 out there. Let's see if never mind. I'm just gonna go to default. Basically your ADX, let's go back. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that. I need to add that back in. Sorry, not ADX. Sorry, Jesus, I can't even think of the one. The DMI, there we go. Added two, added 3 on accident. My bad, guys. So therefore, for positive flow, right, would be your blue line, right? Why is actually I'm going to change that because to me it's too dark. I don't like the blue line. Let's go with green since it's a positive flow. All right. Green positive flow. Here we go. Another one of those in this area right here. All right, it drops. Green moving a little bit above again with the money flow. And then drops down again, right? And it's almost the opposite of the negative movement. So directional movement again with the money float, drops out again. And here we go. EMI along with the money flow moves up. Okay, now we finally start to see some changes here, right? So I don't know, I just don't like these indicators, especially if you're going with the MACD. MACD is trying to give you momentum. All of these should help you, you know, and especially if you look at, if that's all you do is look at indicators, you should be able to look at these and go, okay, you know, money flows going here, DMI is going this way. It looks like you know, the momentum is going this way. We should be able to buy a bunch right here and it should take off. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. It struggles. And then it falls. So it just goes to show you that price is manipulated. Price is not only manipulated, it's algorithmic. You know, these guys that have tons and tons of money are you know, they're going to let you have all the indicators you want, but unless you actually know how these guys think, they're not going to let you have the money. Now, I have the ADRs, the average daily range, primarily to see what kind of movements we would have, what kind of movements we would have left as far as the average is concerned throughout the day. We're getting close to the end, so I think you know, especially with something like Ethereum, moving into 6 p.m. on Eastern times, or sorry, the Central Time Zone, not going to be much left. All right, we've talked about Ethereum enough. Let's head over to Bitcoin. Yeah, what I showed in my previous video was that, you know, with Ethereum, it had a low, right? And then Ethereum, what it did is it made a higher low as to where Bitcoin made a lower low. Now in indices, like something like the SPX and the Dow Jones and the you know, the Nasdaq, you see something like that, that's what's called a risk-off scenario, which means basically the currency, United States currency, is at risk, and so therefore monetary, especially when it comes to currency, usually is inversely proportionate to indices. So money goes down, the actual indice itself goes up. There's a lot about, you know, intermarket trading. If you want to know more about that, look up John J. Murphy. He teaches a lot about intermarket trading. So I was thinking the same thing about Bitcoin and Ethereum here. I'm thinking, well, if they're making two different, you know, one's making higher up, one's making a lower low, maybe it could be a bullish sign. And I was wrong. I was wrong for the most part, you know, as this turned around, this dropped. Ethereum turned around, it dropped as well. And the thing is that maybe it was just early. Maybe it was just early. You know, and maybe we're going to have some more bullish movements coming ahead. If we are going to see some kind of more, if we're going to see more of a drop in Bitcoin, where I think it would be coming from, right, would be Tesla Day. What I call Tesla Day. This huge pump that never came back to it, never came back to and enclosed any kind of gap whatsoever. I mean, what it did do, especially if we're looking at the 1 hour chart, you know, it did come up to the 1 hour. The next hour, what it do, it made a little bit of a spike down, spike up, pull a little bit back, and then boom, took off again. So it did cross that area to where the previous high was. So I'm not too hugely concerned. but still there is kind of an area in between here. Even though price has already been above it, it's, you know, I don't know. I'm still wrestling with my thoughts here. I don't know exactly how to take this sometimes, because right now, especially if you're a person that likes to, go follow trends, this thing could be trending backwards, possibly until we cover up any kind of gaps like that in these areas before it starts taking off. I don't like to think like that though, but I mean, it's possible. And to be honest, I would honestly rather see Bitcoin get lower and lower. That way, more and more people who want to get into Bitcoin can get into Bitcoin at a better price. But one of the reasons this is happening is because there are a lot of institutions that do want to get into Bitcoin, and 50K is too high for them, especially if they're going to put 1%, 10%, whatever it is of their reserves in there. They're going to want it to get down to 20 to 30,000. That way they can make more money off of it whenever it reaches, 70, 75, 100K, whatever it is. So they're wanting this to happen. When they're wanting this to happen so that way you jump out, that way you think that you've made a bad investment, especially for anybody that has put in money in anywhere between 44 and 56,000. If that's when you started investing, you're looking like, oh man, I made a bad decision, maybe I should just get rid of it and try something else. No, hold. I'm gonna say hold because I still think we still have another run at 60,000, if not more. um it's just one of those things to where things pull back. Things pull back. This is natural. And anybody tries to tell you that's not natural is an idiot and has never looked at a chart and has never done back testing and has no clue what they're talking. Things pull back for a reason, right? In the stock market, I own a couple stocks. I got up to $2,500 just on 3 stocks that I barely put any money in, and a couple weeks ago. That's now dropped in half. I'm not worried because I know that they're eventually going to start making their way back up again, because they went way too high, way too quick, and I was kind of prepared. I probably should have sold at the top because I knew where the top was going to be, but I didn't. I was just like, whatever, I'll let this cycle through. But if it happens again, I'll definitely have to take another look at it. But see here. I'm trying to think about which way Bitcoin could possibly be going. Because we do see equal highs right here. Somewhat equal highs, right? I don't know if you see those or not. I'll have to go ahead and point them out for you. Right there. Those two equal highs. That's what I like to see. I like to see that because generally that means, it's a fake fake resistance line that is eventually going to be pushed up above, and I wouldn't say turn support, but eventually going to be broken. Trying to see if there's any other weird fake, I wouldn't say fake, but these lines that people like to draw and think that, oh, it's in a channel, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that. No, dang, I'm sorry. Price doesn't do channels. Price doesn't know channels. Price doesn't know trend lines. Price knows numbers. It knows levels. That's what price knows. It's not Mario going through a freaking plumbing tube, guys. It's not rocket science. Price knows levels. That's all there is to it. see if there's any questions in here in the chat. Not yet. And that being said, I probably got about 10 more minutes before it kicks me off of here. So I'm going to try to get in some Bitcoin action here really quick. Again, I'm still waiting to see if it's going to come down and close up this gap. Worst case scenario, I think, is about 30, about 39, 36. I think is honestly worst case scenario. But I don't think it's going to get that low. I think somewhere around 39.40 is most likely the lowest possible way that we're going to go. That being said, we'll just kind of take things day by day to see how they go. I am on the 1 hour chart right now, and if I switch over to a 5-minute chart, something like that, I can probably give you a little bit more of a detailed answer, just because I'm better at looking at smaller minute charts. A lot of people think they're noise. I think they're absolutely wonderful because they can give you a lot of information that other charts can't. And again, we're not too far away from those equal highs, right? What it did here, as you can see, is it played that same game. Played that same game of, you know, creating equal lows. And so since it created equal lows, people probably started buying, thinking that it was going to go higher because, oh, it bounced off another low. Well, why not buy? Because, you know, there's support there. And then it turned around and went the opposite way. So it took those people out, and now kind of sitting there floating. And go there and look, and it's at that same exact kind of point that it was before from that previous low. So I think from here, you know, of course it could pull back a little bit more, but have we seen the lowest of the lows? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Again, I'm not Nostradamus. I don't know. Good thing is that we have seen this, right? These highs right here broke these intermediate highs. That's a break in market structure. I'm going to go with that's a good thing, right? That break in market structure also creating equal highs. Don't know if it's going to pull back from there, if it's going to keep going. If it pulls back from there, that's another good thing because it's going to break through those. And then we should still continue to seeing more, you know, sound as, you know, doing these, you know, something like that. We may have some pullbacks here and there, but then again, ultimately leading upwards, I think, is what we're going to see. I think we all know the ultimate direction. I don't think we're at the end of a bull run whatsoever. I think we're just at a little blip. You know, it's the end of February. Yeah, Janet Yellen was probably responsible for most of this. Algorithms react to news, not people, right? Most people probably kept all their money in the same spot. Nobody sold off because of what Janet Yellen said. Has to do with algorithms. The more that you get algorithms in your head that prices are manipulated, even in a crypto market. Yes, prices are manipulated in a crypto market. The better off that you're going to understand and the better off that you're going to be whenever it comes to trading and things like that, because you have to think like them. You have to think, hey, where's the liquidity, right? Is it balanced, right? Is the price balanced, and is there liquidity? If there is liquidity, where is the liquidity? Because it's going to be attacking the liquidity next. Liquidity it's going to be attacking next is going to be in the flow of the direction that it needs to go, or that it wants to go. Even though we would all love for it to go up, sometimes liquidity isn't there yet. Sometimes liquidity is resting down here somewhere for some reason. So instead, what it'll do is it'll seek out that liquidity, and as soon as it reaches it, boom, it'll pull that liquidity out and then let it run. As long as that liquidity, basically from the higher ups, they know where their liquidity is setting, they will sell and try to get their way to that liquidity and then take off from there. So that being said, I have 4 minutes left, unfortunately, and I know I'm going to get cut off. So instead of continuing to drone on and drone on and drone on, what I will say is look into Ravencoin, look into Frontier. Let me see what other of my top ones that have been doing well. Cardano, definitely. As far as altcoins are concerned, I would say Parsec, but I'm not for sure. IOST has been producing fairly well, even though it did just have a pretty big drop recently. Well, as you know what, I'm just gonna say Ravencoin. I think Ravencoin is probably going to be one of the ones that's going to be doing the best when it comes to these kind of things. It got a little bit lower than I wanted to, which is to me is a good thing, because I want to keep throwing money at Ravencoin. Ravencoin and Cardano are going to be my two that I want to keep throwing money at. So that and Polkadot, Frontier. I think those are going to be my four. And as far as altcoins are concerned, and I'll still continue to keep throwing money at Bitcoin and Raven. Right? If you want to look at stocks, the stocks I would suggest looking at would be Riot blockchain. Right? I've been into Riot. You know, they're out of Boulder, Colorado. They've been mining. Canon or Canan, I don't know. It's CANAAN. Ticker on the stock symbol is CAN. They build hardware for crypto. Also Marathon Patent Group, they're also in the crypto space as well as MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is a little expensive, but then again, you know, they just announced that they're going to be investing billions and billions and billions into cryptocurrency. So that would be the strategy moving forward. That's my strategy moving forward. Crypto is the new future. I know people tell you to diversify. Yeah, of course you can diversify. Please do, by all means. Get some real estate, get some whatever you need. But also think about the future and where the future is going to take you. And don't be left behind. Make sure that you have all your bases covered. But don't put all your eggs in one basket. And by that, I mean don't put every single bit of money that you own into Bitcoin. That is the dumbest thing you could do. You know, make it a percentage strategy if you want to, like that, you know, 60%, 40%, whatever it is. Don't put everything into Bitcoin though. Don't put everything into Ethereum. You know, make sure you're spacing it out and make sure you know what you're doing. Again, this is Ted from Bodies and Wicks. Always to remember to keep, hold on, wait, what does that say? Oh yeah, keep your pants on.